Peace, family. It's your brother Marc Lamont Hill. I am here, still out in the world. Peace, family. It's your brother Marc Lamont Hill. We had a little tech issue there. I hope y'all caught that. Uh, I'm out here on the road still traveling. The aftermath of Martin Luther King Day. Been hitting the road trying to spread the word about the good Dr. Martin Luther King and what he brings to the table in terms of his legacy and how it impacts today. Well, one of those big things that it impacts, of course, is how we think about war. And for the last 102 days, there has been a protracted, unrelenting, ultimately vicious war on Gaza, uh, prosecuted by the Israeli government in the aftermath of the October 7th attacks. The mainstream media, the national media, has not done an effective job, is very intentionally, in fact, done a poor job in covering this, not letting us know exactly what happens, not letting us know what the human toll is, not letting us know what the diplomatic developments are, not letting us know exactly the impact that these choices are having on the Palestinian people and the broader global community. And so what we're here to do, what I'm here to do every day that I can on the Marc Lamont Hill official channel, is to bring you all that information. Let me know where y'all coming in from. We're about to get started with the latest updates on Israel's war on Gaza, which has now reached day 102. This is a stunning number. We'll talk about that. But in the meantime, let me know where you're writing in from. Write your location, write your city, your state, your country. Also, hit the like button, smash up the likes, as they say, so that the algorithms know exactly what you think about this kind of program and this type of content. But we're going to get there. But again, let us know where you're coming from. Good morning to some folk. I'm saying good morning to Iram. Hello and salam to you, my sister Letitia Muhammad, coming from the great island of Trinidad. Much love to you as well, my sister. Congratulations on being part of what we do here. Same to you, Iram. Thank you so much. Sir Dale, thank you so much for joining the conversation this morning, all the way from Durham, North Carolina. You know, I'm a Duke fan, so that means a whole lot to me to see you coming from Durham. Let's keep the conversation going. Though, Dina from Belgium, shout out to you as well. We're gonna get started. A lot of developments over the last week. Of course, the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, was the site of most of our attention last week, as South Africa made a very compelling case for genocide being committed by the Israeli government. They made a case that Israel is guilty of the crime of genocide. On last Thursday, they made their case. The following day, for that Friday, Israel mounted its defense. We're waiting now to see what's next. But that level of attention that we saw on Friday when Israel launched its defense was very different than what we saw the day prior. And it's exactly why we do what we do here on the channel. Some things get hyper analyzed and scrutinized. Some things get a big spotlight placed on them. Other things don't. And it's not just the ICJ proceedings, it's body counts, it's legal proceedings, it's complaints, it's concerns, it's all the things. And we're going to talk about those things today. We ain't got a lot of time, but we're going to talk about as much of it as we can in the time that we do, because one of the things that has been undercovered, underexplored has been the death toll. You know, if there's a death toll in Israel, we know about it. If there's a death toll in France, we know about it. If there's a death toll in the UK, we know about it. But when it comes to brown folk, we often don't have that. And just last night, Monday night, in Gaza, at least 25 people were killed by Israeli attacks. I'm going to say that again. Israeli attacks killed at least 25 people in Gaza on Monday night. That includes 11 Palestinians from two families in Miraj, which is a town in the north of Rafah, toward the southern part of the region. That's according to the Palestinian news agency Wafa. Now, those 25 people in any other place, in any other country, would be shocking and stunning. But it has effectively become the norm for what happens in Gaza. And I say that with not an ounce of hyperbole. As of today, according to Gaza's Ministry of Health, at least 24,100 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza since October 7th. 60,834 Gazans have been injured. That's a number that we often don't explore sufficiently. We just only talk about the people who've been killed. But the people who survive but are permanently unable to live their lives in the same way, the people who require significant medical attention but can't get it because the hospitals have been destroyed, the people who will never walk again, the people who will need assistance that they can never access because uh, foreign health agencies and national domestic health agencies are simply either unequipped to provide the help or they're being denied access to the region. But in both cases, the numbers are stunning, both the injury numbers, but also this death toll. 24,100 Palestinians have been killed. And again, that's a conservative number. There's a really high chance that number is probably closer to 30,000, according to my contacts, according to my experts on the ground. But we'll continue to watch and see. On Monday, Hamas released a video, and in the video, it appeared to show the bodies of two Israeli hostages. According to Hamas, those hostages were killed by Israeli airstrikes. Now, this is a fascinating and really sad circumstance. If anyone is held hostage and they are a civilian, effectively they're kidnapped, right? They're kidnapped, they're a hostage. I oppose all hostage taking. I oppose all kidnapping. If you're uh, a political or a prisoner of war, as someone who's in the military, someone who's a combatant, that's one thing. But taking random civilians, I don't agree with. And I hope that there is a release of hostages on all sides, a release of political prisoners on all sides. I hope that there is a resolution to this for civilians as soon as possible. But one of the things that Israel is going to have to come to terms with, uh, if we are to believe Hamas's claim on the video, and we can believe it or not believe it, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is these airstrikes are killing Israeli hostages as well. And Hamas is being very tactical in how they release this information. But the bigger question here is, in addition to those two Israeli hostages who absolutely did not deserve to die, the airstrikes are killing thousands of Palestinians. They're killing tens of thousands of Palestinians. They've killed 24,100 Palestinians so far in some form or fashion. When will the global community say this is enough? Sadly, sometimes it takes the bodies of people who they care about more. It takes the lives of people whose experiences and value is more legible for the global community to do anything. So while I would hope that the airstrikes would have stopped because of the tens of thousands of Palestinians who have been killed, I'm praying that the death of these two Israeli hostages um, will garner enough sympathy and enough pain that we stop the airstrikes. I'm not optimistic, but I'm hopeful. I still remain hopeful that something can happen here to stop the airstrikes. But the Israeli government, as they've said themselves, as they've articulated very publicly, as Netanyahu said as recently as 2 days ago, nothing is going to stop the Israeli army from completing its mission, the Israeli military from completing its mission. And while for them the mission is to completely eliminate Hamas, that is an impossibility as a practical matter. What does that even mean to eliminate Hamas? So if they're not actually going to be able to uproot the senior leadership of Hamas, the considerable number of soldiers from Hamas that are on the ground, then all they're going to continue to do is prosecute a war in Gaza that's going to lead to the death of tens of thousands of civilians, the destruction of more infrastructure, and the erasure of any kind of future for the children of Gaza. And I got to add this number: 10,000. I'm going to say it again: 10,000 children have been killed in Gaza since October 7th. That's 1% of the overall population of children in the region, of Palestinians in Gaza. That is tragic. That is absolutely tragic. And it is a genocide. And we need to be honest about that. And we need to be honest about that. Since October 7th, there have been a number of communications blackouts. The seventh of which happened on Monday, or it extended on Monday. What we saw is all telecommunication services in Gaza shut down on Saturday, Sunday, through yesterday, Monday. That's according to the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the OCHA. Telecommunications blackouts are always dangerous. They're always a crisis, but they are particularly problematic in a region where electricity is cut off, water is shut down, fuel is cut off, and now to see these telecommunications crises, again, it speaks to the urgency, but also just how low the conditions are in Gaza right now. We have to do something about it as soon as possible. Let's move on to some diplomatic matters. Uh, on Tuesday, early today, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for sexual violence claims against Hamas to be rigorously investigated and prosecuted. Much has been made of um, of Hamas's alleged sexual violence, particularly the use of rape as a weapon, the widespread practice of rape um, since October 7th by Hamas. I've heard a lot of claims. I have yet to see significant evidence. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not saying there isn't significant evidence. I'm saying I've yet to see it, and I've looked for it. So I support fully, fully Secretary General Guterres' call for any sexual violence claims to be investigated. It doesn't matter what your politics are. It doesn't matter what side of any issue you're on. Sex should not be, um, or sexual violence more specifically, should not be condoned. It should not be ignored. It should not be dismissed. It should not be understated. If Hamas is engaged in any type of sexual violence, any type of sexual crimes, uh, they need to be investigated and they need to be held accountable fully. Because again, that is a war crime. That is it checks off many boxes of violations of international law and violations of the rules of war. And I think we need to I think we need to investigate it. And I'm glad to see that. And I hope that anyone who is supporting Palestinian freedom and the struggle for freedom and self-determination is not ignoring this issue around sexual violence. We cannot do that. That is a moral necessity to investigate that. Um, let's talk about a couple other things here. Israel's cabinet yesterday passed an amended 2024 state budget. They added money for war. According to the finance ministry and the prime minister's office, they added $15 billion for war. $15 billion for war. Now, they're at war. $15 billion is not an unreasonable number if you're at war. The question is, do they need to be at war, and what can stop them from being at war? And it seems to me that if they have a war chest that allows them to spend $15 billion, to anticipate needing 15 billion more, again, that suggests that what's happening in Gaza is not going to stop anytime soon. That we are going, unfortunately, to be witnessing a protracted series of violent acts in the Gaza Strip. We've already seen 1.7 million people displaced. We've already seen 10,000 children killed. We've already seen almost 25,000 overall people killed. Um, a $15 billion investment in that kind of practice is a dangerous double down, and it's one we got to watch. All right, let's talk a little bit about the West Bank before we go. The Israeli army says that it has redeployed an elite unit from Gaza to the occupied West Bank, where it says the situation is spiraling. Yeah, you don't say. The thing that we've often ignored is that while the violence is happening in Gaza, we've seen resistance efforts in Palestine and in the rest of Palestine. But they're not just resisting what's happening in Gaza, they're resisting the increasing violence that's happening in the West Bank. In other words, people in the West Bank aren't just wilding out because of Gaza. They're resisting also what's happening in the West Bank. We've seen increased searches. We've seen increased night raids and day raids. We've seen home demolitions. We've seen unlawful arrests. We've seen lots of people placed on administrative detention. All of these things are happening, and not to mention settler attacks. Just last night, in fact, in the town of Sinjil, which is right above Ramallah, right after midnight on Monday, dozens of Israeli settlers, they literally attacked Palestinian vehicles in the middle of Sinjil. Um, so it's not just the military; it's the settlers, which again complicates the narrative about who settlers are and how we respond to them as a global community. On Monday, Israeli soldiers also raided the home of Ahmed and Mohammed Zaydat, who they accused of carrying out a car ramming and a stabbing attack in uh, Ranana, excuse me, which is near Tel Aviv, a city I'm not familiar with. Uh, they killed one person and injured at least 14 others. That's according to the Al Jazeera correspondent Ayman Nobani. Again, I'm not familiar with this case, but I do know that the arrest happened. Which it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Uh, Now that they're being accused, Ahmed and Mohammed Zaydat are accused of having killed a person, injuring 14 others in a car ramming. Could they have done that? Absolutely. But we also see a lot of false charges and a lot of misconvictions happening in Israeli court, which of course has a 99% conviction rate against Palestinians. That tells you something. Anyway, family, we're going to continue to keep this information coming. We're going to continue to give you all of the coverage of what's happening on the ground in Palestine every single day, but specifically in Gaza. As long as there is a war being prosecuted in Gaza, we will keep you up to date on everything that's going on here. Hit the like button, smash up the like so people know, particularly the algorithms know that you're down with what we're talking about here, and it allows us to spread the word. Hit the subscribe button if you have not already, because it's important for you to be a part of the channel and to know what's going on, and also hit that little bell to the right, I think, of the subscribe button, so that you can get updates on when we put out new information. And of course, joining the channel is always a blessing. We're grateful when anyone joins the channel at any level and helps us build the infrastructure that we're trying to build here. And finally, if you're so inclined, you can also donate directly to the channel. One donation to the channel helps us. It helps us build infrastructure, helps us expand the platform, it helps us bring new voices on. If everybody on right now were to just donate $1 or two, we would be in great shape. So feel free. No amount is too small. Hit the Cash App, do MLHTV. We are so grateful for that. But most importantly, y'all, spread the word about the channel. Spread the word about the information we're giving out here, and do everything you can to continue to struggle and fight and organize and battle and think and read and teach for liberation. That's what we do here on the channel. We're going to keep doing that, family. I'll see y'all later. Peace.